Massive moves across Bitcoin, cryptos, and the stock markets. If there's one thing we want to see cancelled, it is the recession. It's a recession that's been hanging around for years but has never actually presented itself. Today, let's update the Bitcoin chart as it has broken out of our key 50% level. The stock markets have also continued up, this time 3 green weeks within 2% of a new all-time high. And it was only 2 weeks ago that everyone else was calling for a recession at the bottom of the market. We see Bitcoin break out of that key resistance level, $61,500. It's closed at $64,000 yesterday. There it is, dead on the money. And so far we got that one nice daily close above both of the swing tops and the 50% level. So this was the little area that we've been watching now for many, many weeks. You could see that Bitcoin bounced off the short-term 50% level. So that was a test. You had a nice bullish bounce and then a swing bottom came in using our Gann swing indicator. And then these next few days were really interesting. They tested the 50% level not once, not twice, 3 times, and then we had the breakout. And so if you're familiar with that as a premium member, TI Premium, you know that we've got that Gann signal as well. You got that 4 test, that 4-time test. And again, we saw that on a very short-term time frame there on that breakout. So really good signs, at least in the short term, and potentially flipping to the longer term. But of course, the main thing here is to continue to follow the charts. And this was part of our signals that we talked about at the peak in July. We had 3 days down from a very significant top, 3 lower tops, lower bottoms. And this is what we're looking at to lead to a more significant correction to come in the market than any time previously. Now that happened, and the market is climbing out of it in a pretty reasonable V-shaped recovery. In terms of timeframes like previous corrections, you got 44 days in the previous correction here in April, made it back to a new high, another correction, and then onto this last peak into July. We're at 38 days now from the top to the current trading day. Real estate market go up, because this is the most important one. I know we focus on Bitcoin, but this is where the money is made and held longer term. They're very much longer cycles here. So what I'm looking at here is the Home Builders ETF. Now we covered it the other day, but just in the last 24 hours, the ETF, the Home Builders ETF, is up above 119. This was a key level here as it peaked out in July, end of July that is, found its low on the 5th of August, and then has been climbing back ever since. So it had a much shorter time to the downside than the S&P 500. So the investors are still seeing a lot more strength left here in the home builders, which essentially means that they're seeing more profits come into the real estate market longer term, maybe 6 to 12 months out from now. Are all saying up. The S&P 500 is up. The NASDAQ still strong. Even if there is a correction from this point, you've got plenty of support levels to the downside before there's an invalidation of the current macro bull market. Plenty of that going on. And with this current rise, this current move to the upside, one would expect some sort of correction from this point. So we'll wait and see how the markets open up next week. And as we lead into September, into this last month of Q3, we've got the US dollar also falling as well. So here is the US dollar on the way down. And then many would attach that reason, well, the Fed's cutting rates, therefore the US dollar should be going down. But look, the US dollar has been going down since 2022 when interest rates were also going up. There is the extreme peak. And basically 2 years on now, it's come down from 115 down to 100. So a pretty significant drop. In this second half of the real estate cycle, some of you might know, hit that like and subscribe if you are new on the channel and you want to continue to follow up with this cycle. This second half of the real estate cycle, you typically see the US dollar continue falling, which could be another good sign for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Basically, an easing on the dollar generally means asset prices continue to go up, along with, well, more buyers than sellers. We're at the 61.5. We need to see a few more, or at least 2 more daily closes here would be ideal to work its way into the consolidation for the next stage up, for the next test to the upside. Do I think it's going to happen within a week? I don't think so at this stage. I'm still looking to that longer term move. As we talked about in March of 2024, that was our 3-day down move from the top, that it was looking like roughly 4 to 6 months from the top, we could then expect maybe another new all-time high price. That takes us out to now 163 days below the previous old all-time high. And if we work our way out to 6 months, that date comes in as the 13th of September. And if we work our way out to 200 to 210 days as a reference point from previous cycles, that's the end of September, so the 30th there, and 210 is around 10th of October. So basically, anytime between now and I would say the first place to look is around mid-September, out to roughly as far as mid-October. So there could still be a couple of months here trading between 70 and somewhere to the lower side of sort of mid-50s, right? Now that's just a conservative look at the Bitcoin market right now. I know there's going to be plenty of bulls that think this has to go straight up to 74, and maybe it does. The idea of this is that no one knows what happens on the black side of the chart. We're just weighing up probabilities here and looking at how the markets have performed previously with these signals, and then forecasting, or at least doing our best to forecast what might happen next. Within that, then comes your risk management. Well, do I buy up a lot more here and then a little less here and then a little less as it breaks out? Or do I wait for more confirmation and then buy up a lot more here? So that's just a rough look at how you then manage your risk, which is essentially your money. And when do you put that in? Do you put a lot in now, a little bit in later, etc.? Now that's just a high level look at how you decide to put your money into the market and then get it out. Because at the end of the day, you obviously want to make some profits, so you've got to get this money out of the markets. Back to the signals here, looking at Bitcoin now that we've finally got some increased volume, relatively speaking to the previous volume, and then this breakout here. What happens next? Well, let's have a look at the monthly chart. So we had 6 straight months up for BTC, going from 25K all the way up to 74K. So nearly a tripling there. Now, BTC had to have some sort of correction. It got that correction. We're in that correction. 5 months into that correction now. The end of July, so early August, I do my monthly updates, basically looking at what I think might happen next. And at that time, for that video, about 3 and a bit weeks ago, we looked at the possibility of August actually being the same as July. Now, July was green. And you might recall that I said, well, if July is green, often August will also be green. If July is red, often August will also be red. At the moment, it only sits down by 1% from July. So it's quite close at the moment. Yes, there's still 8 more days to go till the end of the month, more like 7 now. So this could drastically change. Maybe we come all the way back down and the whole game's over. But so far, it's looking relatively okay here. Just needs to close above 64,600 to get to a green August. And this would then be massive, massive buying that has stepped in. So we got 6 months up, 5 months down. I think we are on the verge now of breaking out into a new all-time high within 2024. So I've got longer term timeframes here. And what we looked at in the previous consolidations, we had 6 to 7 months recently. So that was in 2023 before that October breakout. We also saw another 6-month correction before another consolidation and the breakout in 2020 to 2021. And then in the prior cycle, back in 2016 to 2017, there was also 4 to 5 months here. And then you had again 4 to 5 months before the breakout. And that's when the party really starts to get going. So there was a couple of consolidations which you are then able to identify as reaccumulations once the breakout happens. That happened earlier in that cycle, basically up to the first half of the cycle, which then leads into the second half. So that's what these big squares here, you've got your left and your right translated cycles. So within the left, the first roughly 18 months or so, consolidation 1, consolidation 2, consolidation 3, and then the breakouts. And you get these really fast moves happening. Then the next cycle here, consolidation 1, about 4 months there. Another consolidation happened here on the way down, and then a third consolidation before these big breakouts. Now we're into our possibly third, maybe second. You could potentially consider this being the first consolidation, then the second, then the third. And that would lead us to this second half of the cycle, being this right translated cycle and the breakout into the peak at whatever time that happens to peak. In a previous video this month, I looked at the quarterly swings, and I'll update this again with our next monthly update. So you can see the quarterly swings here, one swing, then blow off top. Last cycle, you had one quarterly swing, up and down, and then you get into that blow off. We're into that quarterly swing now. The swing has happened. So if it continues to break down from this point, well, game over. That's the invalidation. But so far, it seems like things are on the up and up. Over to the total cryptocurrency market cap. We looked at this and where the strong and weak levels were. 50% level, 2.206, and the daily closed almost dead on that, 2.208. So just slightly above it. This is still good science. As I said, it's exciting. I'm excited. The bulls are on, but let's just not get too carried away. I'll talk to myself in this one. It's a reflection on me. We can still see further downside. You know, we can see some sort of corrections. At the moment, I think this is a reasonably good area. I'll say area for the bottom because we've seen one crash back in July, the recovery, and then another severe correction, which went lower. However, it was a fast reaction to get back above those lows. That's what you want to see with any sort of corrections that go below the previous low. So I've said many times before, I had no idea that Bitcoin would correct, or the total markets would correct this far. However, just looking at the signals that we saw back in March, we knew there was some sort of correction coming, but I don't claim to know exactly where it's going to go. When you see it correct dead onto 50% levels and then bounce back to get back above key support levels, well, then it's a pretty good sign that it's just a matter of time until you see higher and higher prices, because we are looking at longer term timeframes. Remember, it doesn't happen overnight. And so that 50% level that it bounced almost dead on was the bull market. Take care, have a great weekend, and peace out till next time.